name is Sue. I work at the Whitby Public Library. Thanks for joining us to watch this video on mindfulness, self-compassion, and well-being. This is a pre-recorded program from earlier in the summer, and I'll tell you a little bit about what it's about. The intention of this program is to explore what mindfulness is and also what it is not. We're going to outline its benefits in stress reduction and well-being, and we're going to start to introduce some formal practices. The formal practices will be indicated by time and also by a marker during the video. So if you want to come back and do those practices time and time again, you're very welcome to do that. We're going to rerun this 4-week event in October. So if you find that you do enjoy the sessions and the practices, we are going to be rerunning October 8, 15, 22, and 29. So that's a 4-week program, Thursday evenings in October. Registration is open for that now on our website, so please do feel free to register also. I'm going to hand it over to Joan and the pre-recorded program in a moment. Joan is a certified mindfulness-based reduction teacher, and she's been doing this for quite some time. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I have, and others that have attended the live programs. Okay, thanks, and here we go.
I think that I'm going to immediately introduce to you a settling practice, and for 2 or 3 minutes. I would encourage, I'm assuming that you're all sitting, but some people might be on a cushion on the floor. That would be fine. You could even lie down if you wanted to. This will be brief, a few minutes. And you might want to just make sure that the way that the seat that you've chosen, you might want a cushion at the back of your lower back, just to give yourself a bit of support. So typically, when I start a practice, I ring the bell once, and this is just allowing for gathering your attention. So bringing awareness to this moment. Awareness of the invitation to welcome yourself to this practice. Perhaps noticing, what it's been like listening to everyone talking. Perhaps it stimulated some thoughts of your own. So bringing awareness to thoughts without going into them. Introducing the idea of noticing what thoughts are present. Perhaps, again, an invitation to check in with how you're feeling. We're so used to asking others how they are. So inviting yourself to ask, how are you feeling in this moment? What's showing up for you? And again, inviting yourself to be kind, to be gentle, to be curious. And then widening your awareness to include how the body is sitting. So again, this awareness of sensations that you're noticing, perhaps a tightness or a tension, perhaps a pain, one side, maybe not the other. And again, it's cultivating a non-judging attitude, noticing and befriending whatever you are noticing. And now widening your awareness and to go to the breath. So following the breath as it's coming into the body, right to the very end. Tiny pause, and then following the breath as you exhale, right to the very end. Breath coming in, tiny pause, and breath going out. And perhaps it might be helpful if you take a deeper breath, because we always have such residual tension in our bodies. So breathing in, breathing out. You get distracted by sounds or thoughts. That's okay, that happens. Then you gently come back to following the breath as it's coming in, going out. This repetitive cycle, coming in, and exhaling. So the breath is always there, a steady, steady anchor. And then gently bringing yourself back into the next part of our session. You might want to follow the breath on your own for a moment or two. As I ring the bell at the end of the session, I will always ring it 3 times. Just gently, just allowing yourself to linger. There's no need to jump into anything. Just allowing yourself to be. Perhaps the invitation after any practice is to always allow a pause to reflect, what came up. What did you notice? And again, it's the idea being that we are so quick to go onto something else that we're always trying to invite ourselves to linger. So I will say to you that for the other 3 sessions, we will always start, once Sue has done a small intro or any housekeeping, we will always start with a small settling practice. So it's always interesting when one is invited, right, to talk about mindfulness. The first thing that always comes up for me is that it is always best to experience it. And that, however, you know, we have all been schooled in certain ways. And so I always start off by describing what it is. You know, mindfulness is about paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So that John Kabat-Zinn, that is one of his significant descriptions. I mean, there's lots of descriptions. So it is about training your attention. It's about living with intention. So it's knowing why you are practicing. So a settling practice. So a settling practice is just that. The purpose is settling together as a group. Because people, you know, have been doing this, doing that, working, trying to do household tasks, maybe dealing with kids. So it is about understanding that's the intention. And I will always introduce a practice with the beginning of this is the intention. So, and the other aspect of training your attention is we are so distracted in our world. And even more so, I would say just now. I mean, everything is upside down in our world. Our routines have all been shifted. Some of them we don't have. We're having to develop new ways of living. So there's a ton of disruption. There's all sorts of unpredictable daily living experiences. So training your attention is about learning to focus very much on one thing at a time. And it's about cultivating attitudinal qualities, which is significant, the attitudinal qualities. So these are, you know, the heading of the 4-week program is about self-compassion and well-being. So one of them is about learning to be compassionate to oneself, no matter what, no matter what. And to invite ourselves to meet any experience with non-judgment. So non-judgment is key. And of course, as human beings, we're just full of judgments, right? All the time. So it's to be aware of when we are judging. And about non-striving. So of course, you know, we live in this world where, you know, we're often raised to strive, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's many advantages to striving, to, you know, trying to do this, trying to get another job, maybe going back to doing some schooling or develop a hobby. So there is nothing wrong with striving. However, when we adopt striving, when it comes to emotions or to our thinking, many instances, it is that we do not distinguish when we are striving and when we need to not strive. So the other is to bring some curiosity. You know, so it's interesting that one of you mentioned about kids. I mean, kids have a wonderful curiosity to life, right? That is natural. You know, what's this about? They need something to be explained, maybe in different ways. And as adults, we definitely lose that. You know, we have become much more conditioned about how we respond or react. So It is to, can we have a fresher beginner's mind to what we are experiencing? Can we learn to trust what is coming up in our life? Trust that we'll sort it out. And can we be more patient? And the other, of course, is which is quite a struggle, right? Because there's so often we want something, right? We have a craving mind. We want something to be a certain way. Like, right now it's, we want reliability. We want some of those things that make us feel very comfortable. So, when that's all disrupted, what do we do? So, so mindfulness is about being with whatever emerges. And of course, many of you perhaps have read already some literature. The book that I would refer you to would be Low Catastrophe Living by Jon Kabat-Zinn, because it's got wonderful, wonderful content in it. And he has, he's brought out several editions, and the library has the latest one. And so it's about, can we invite ourselves? Can we value non-doing? Can we set aside time, which is what I'm going to introduce you to practices that encourage and promote the idea of non-doing? That every day of your life, you set aside some time and you simply, for want of a better word, chill out. You invite yourself to be in that moment. So it's not about ruminating from the past, which is what we all do. What happened yesterday, what happened this morning, what happened, 10 years ago. And it's not about clinging to what is ahead, which again, we all have a tendency to do. How am I going to cope with this? What happens, in the summer, what happens in the fall with kids going back to school, whatever. So it's about, can we be here? Because this moment, me talking to you right now, this is the moment that I've got the most control over. And but it's quite challenging, right? Because we're so addicted to going on to something else. We're so addicted to. I hope you don't mind me using that word. We're so used to just wanting to go on to something else, perhaps making an assumption that by doing that somehow or other it will be better. So it's inviting, perhaps in a formal way, to spend a bit of time with oneself. The other is to tune into our senses. So our senses would be, smelling, tasting, hearing, touching. I've forgotten one, but that's okay. Even being more paying attention to, your intuition. But let's just stick with the formal senses. That when we're eating, right, we do that every day of our lives. We do that several times, during the day, sometimes more than we should. So can we fully smell, taste, chew? Can we fully experience that, rather than thinking about it? Because we're constantly thinking, right? That's our mode of experiencing ourselves. So can we loosen that, and can we enter into more fully by sitting in the garden and just looking at whatever work you've been doing, smelling, appreciating, without always relating through your thoughts. So that would be huge. And because I haven't got everybody's names, and someone that brought up the thing about being aware of muscle tension and particularly digestive issues, that tuning into our bodies. So again, coming out of that automatic pilot tuning into our body. What is our body telling us? Maybe you get tightness up here, maybe your neck, maybe you get something going on in your hip. What is it telling you? So the body is a huge teacher. And, I have to say that being diagnosed with heart disease in my 40s, I thought that I had already done, I was physically very active, played squash, blah, blah, blah. I was very much an active person, but I was not paying as much attention as I thought. And so there are many key elements to being mindful. I think one final point I would make is that when we slow down, when we tell a kid, slow down and count to 10, we really need to do that more for ourselves. And in that process, when we can slow down and when we can go to an anchor, and that's what I'm now going to introduce you to, perhaps we can not react so much. And if we're slowing it down, we're inviting more pausing, then we can respond to life. And I would say that would be a hugely transformative aspect of being mindful. So in today's world, I see that learning to be mindful, learning to be kinder and befriending oneself is a huge element to protecting ourselves and protecting people in our life. Because there's just so much stuff being charged right now emotionally. So the only thing I would comment on, and I'm trying to time myself as we go along here, is that it's not about relaxing. So the goal for meditating. So there's a little bit of a distraction with a phone, which I omitted to sort out. So I'll have to remember that the next time. So there's a distraction. I get distraction, it interrupts me. And so I just need to pause and I'll come back. And I just notice what's arising. I've got a bit of irritation. I should have noticed that before. So just to mindfully pause for a bit. And when we are inviting ourselves to be mindful and to take time out, a byproduct might be relaxation, but that is not the primary goal of mindfulness. And that might be something that you might wish to talk. There isn't a goal in being mindful. The goal is to be with whatever is there, and to exercise non-judgment, and to bring kindness, and to bring curiosity to it. So, so that's my little bit of my formal comments, and what I'm going to do now is I want to introduce you to the first formal practice, which is awareness of breathing. So my introduction to this is this would be a central anchor. So we need to find ways in our world right now to be able to ground ourselves, to steady ourselves, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling that things are getting out of control, and when we're not sure what's ahead, all of the above. So how can we steady ourselves? How can we calm ourselves? So the breath is always there. It's always there. It's truly like a trusted friend. So this would be a significant anchor for you to learn how to be with it. We're not concerned about how you're breathing. That is also something to be aware of. We're only concerned right now about following the breath as it's coming into the body and as it's going out. If you can breathe at abdomen level, that's wonderful. that is not something that we're going to get particularly uptight about. We're not interested in the right and wrongs. We're trying to cultivate a skill right now by focusing simply on the breath. So you want to bring yourself into a sitting posture. Again, if you wanted to lie down and you can hear me, that would be okay. And if you have a chair that has got a back, you might want to sit right back and get the support of the chair. It's important that your feet are planted on the floor. But if you feel that you can support your back, then that would be fine. You would sit a little bit towards the edge of the chair, as long as you feel that you can be self-supporting. And I am just going to do something about the telephone right now because I don't want to be interrupted by it. So I'm just going to just take a moment, try to stay in a mindful mode, and I'll be with you in 1 minute. I will give instruction, and you will follow it, and you will go from there. And it will be probably well, I'll talk about that afterwards. So bringing awareness to this moment by placing your attention on your posture. So your feet are planted on the floor, literally. So you're feeling the solidness of your feet planted. You might have shoes on, you might not have shoes on. So that you're feeling the stability of the floor and ultimately of the earth. Then you're bringing awareness to sitting on the chair. So the whole of the pelvic area is being supported by the chair. You might have the whole of the backbone being supported by the back of the chair, or you might be self-supporting. And perhaps just noticing your shoulders. Quite often our shoulders are up around our ears. So sometimes I bring them up to the ears. I just hold them for a moment. And then I just drop them. The whole of the upper torso is open. Eyes are gently closed. Or if you're tired, for instance, you probably want to keep them open and just lower them and gaze about 3 or 4 feet ahead. Or if you want to keep them open, that would also be acceptable. The idea is that you're trying to keep out some stimulation. You're trying to limit being stimulated. And your hands are on your thighs, over your knees, maybe clasped. So you will decide. So that the posture is one of respect, it's one of dignity. This is what we bring to our sitting practice. It's one of openness, receptivity. Perhaps if you want to add any other message to yourself in private, that would be okay. So now we're expanding our awareness and we're including the breath. So we're following the breath just as it is, as it's coming into the body. It moves through the body right to the very end of an inhaling breath. there's always a silent pause as we then go into an exhaling breath, right to the very end. And again, opening to an inhaling breath. Tiny pause converts into an exhaling breath, right to the end. So there's this repetitive cycle of breath coming in, breath going out. Perhaps feeling the breath. You're feeling what it's like as the body inhales, as the body that exhales. What sensations are you experiencing? Maybe the breath is rough, maybe it's smooth, or maybe it's short, maybe it's shallow, maybe it's deep, maybe it's all of those things. So again, we're bringing in non-judging, we're bringing curiosity as we're feeling the breath coming into the body and then going out. I'll let you do a couple of breaths in your own rhythm rather than following mine. So of course you've probably got distracted by now, and you've probably, I don't know, you've probably gone into some thinking. Maybe you've got thoughts about what we're doing. Maybe you've got distracted by other things, maybe noises or sounds, or maybe you've got distracted by your body, by sensations. So whatever the distraction, noting the distraction, it's there. That's normal. We get distracted. No big deal. You might want to pause around it. Then very gently, always with some gentleness, we're inviting, escorting ourselves back to the breath because it's there. And we follow the breath again, wherever it is, coming in and going out. Sometimes it's interesting. On an inhale, does the body open? Do you feel it maybe the lungs filling up? Or then when we exhale, maybe we notice that the body really goes inwards, it collapses, and then as we open up on an inhale. So again, we bring curiosity to these things. We're pulled away. So we're going to get pulled away, by the way. You'll always get pulled away. There's lots of distractions. So we get pulled away. So you note what comes up. Maybe there's a reaction. Maybe you're irritated. Maybe you're frustrated. So you note that. Try not to judge. And then again, training our attention, coming back to the breath. And we follow the breath as it is, moment by moment. So it's like a refuge, right? We need to have a refuge in our life because there's so much happening. So we need a place to rest, we need a place to abide in. Perhaps just expanding a little bit into the body so that the breath just a little bit goes into the background and we notice the body in this moment, this breathing body. Again, just observing where in the body you notice the breath. So it could be at the belly, right, as it expands and then contracts, or it could be the chest, expanding and contracting. Could be the rib cage, could be the warmth of the nostrils, so wherever. Yeah. Again, this exploration that we're inviting within ourselves. We get pulled away onto something, whatever it is. Just observe that, notice it, any reaction, and then gently return to where the breath is. And as we bring the practice to a close, offering to yourself some gratitude. This is you taking time out for self-care. It's taking time out to cultivate a new skill. And very important that you value and offer to yourself a thank you. And again, I ring the bell 3 times to let you know that we're bringing the practice to an end. And so offering a moment of reflection. What was that like? What did you notice? And again, one is free to comment. One is free to write on the chat section. You might even want to just do a little bit of you might need to stretch for a moment. We've been sitting for an hour. On the other hand, I gave 2 or 3 instructions there. That was perhaps a little bit too much. So I'm wondering if anybody would like to share what their experience was. Like, for instance, was it hard to stay on the practice? Did your mind wander off?
I'll just say, Joan, it's Sue speaking. I have my windows open. And of course, I live in a subdivision. So I'm completely distracted by people talking around me. I feel like I have all the concentration of a squirrel.
Okay, well, so you were always distracted by other people's voices. Yeah. Yeah. So could I ask then what happened? So you got distracted. You were listening more to the voices?
I was doing well until somebody started speaking really loudly.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I snapped out of it and I couldn't really relax again.
Okay. So you weren't able, so when the voice got louder, your attention went to the loud voice, and you couldn't bring yourself back. Yeah, you got more involved with the voice.
100%. I'm like, are they fighting? Are they arguing? Are they on the phone? Why are they talking so loudly? Do they know that everybody can hear them? And it's just a constant.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. So it's interesting, right? That the mind then takes over, right? Then your thoughts then start to go towards that, as you say. Yeah, was there a problem? Was it going to get worse? So it's noticing that okay, you wandered off in your thoughts. They were some of them were perhaps anxious thoughts or worrying thoughts that something was the matter. So that's kind of interesting, right? I mean, I would encourage you to be interested in that and to notice it. And so by noticing something like that, deciding, yeah, what perhaps you want to do with it.
Yes.
Because that happens for sure. You know, I got distracted with the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I've got a couple of things in chat. So the first one is I was very easily distracted.
right,
My mind wandered every few seconds.
right. Okay. So I would say that's normal. I would say that that is common. I would say that after 12 years of meditating, that still happens to me. So the wandering mind, the wandering mind. So your mind, yeah. So it's what you do when you are mindful that your mind has wandered off. Because our minds are busy, they are constantly busy with all sorts of distractions, lots and lots of thoughts. I mean, there's yeah, it's like the chatter is really endless. And so it is to understand and perhaps accept that is normal. There's nothing, it's I don't know if you were saying to yourself, oh, that's terrible, I can't. But it's to say, okay, a wandering mind, what am I going to do with that? And it's great that you came back. So the key is returning to the anchor of the breath. It is the returning to. That is what is significant. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you're giving us something to refocus on. It seems like a lot of us felt the same way. I have another, I'll read you all of them. It was calming, but at the same time, I was distracted by the noises happening in my house. It
Okay.
was hard to rein my mind back.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
then another, same, the mind does wander. I'm glad you reminded us that it is okay and then try to come back. You
Yes.
mentioned learning to sustain a practice. I want to
Yes.
work on this.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
And and another, yes, I got distracted several times too.
Yeah.
Was able to come back.
I was able to come back.
That person was able to come back on
Okay.
their own. Um,
Okay.
and then another, my mind wandered off. I tried to come back. I wonder if I could bring myself back if I was not being guided. And another person agreed with that. And
They could.
then,
Okay.
and then last for now, I find I was either getting distracted or starting to fall asleep. I
Yeah.
couldn't find the in between.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That it's all okay. It is unhooking from the idea that it has to be a certain way. It's unhooking from that. And I think that's a very, very challenging thing. It's I cannot stress enough that our minds are constantly active. We have worked very, very hard at constantly having conversations and constantly having narratives about everything that goes on in our world, and with the noise, like what Sue described with people outside, I'm describing about the phone going off. So it is to normalize that, and it is to say to you, it is looking at what happens when I get distracted. So that's you being mindful when you're noticing, and it's deciding what you can do. So I would say that the key is practice. It's practice. That's what it's about. It's about anything in your life that you have acquired in terms of a skill. The bottom line is that it's probably something that has involved homework, or it's involved going to classes, or it's involved, you know, learning, reading, and all that stuff. So mindfulness meditation, a formal practice, is no different. I think being at home is challenging because there are other people in the house. I have all my family are not here. My husband is here. So I can control my environment quite a bit. But others, some of you are not in that position. So we have to work with it. You know, unless we're in a monastery or a retreat center, we have to work with the fact there is noise. So you get distracted, your attention gets drawn onto something else. And you're going to be encouraged to work with that. That's how you sustain. That's how you train your attention. Is working with what comes up. I don't know if some of you were frustrated. Somebody was tired. They perhaps bored. Many people get bored. I mean that's it's bored. Like, okay, why am I doing this? Or you've had a long day, or and it's quite tiring doing it at night. I've noticed that with other groups I've done, that especially if you've been working or it's been a busy day. But it's all okay. It's all about what is coming up for you. What's coming for me, what comes up might not be for someone else, and it is giving ourselves permission to value that's okay.
We have sorry to interrupt you, Joan. We have a comment that says, great visual cue, unhooking.
Unhooking, yes, unhooking. Okay, you like that. You like the unhooking. Yeah, unhooking. Or loosening the, we all have habits. We all have habits. We are bundles of habits and patterns, right? So we have reactions that come up to all sorts of things, or somebody's hungry, that might make you react in a certain way. So mindfulness is really about wakening up to some of that stuff, and again, attitudinal components. Right, that kindness, it's like you're going to try to invite yourself to develop a framework that has kindness, softness, right? We're going to soften into some of these things. Oh, I couldn't do that, or I get stuck on this, or it's softening into it, and perhaps exploring. Maybe not. So. So I will say to you that so we'll do awareness of breathing, and Sue is going to try to extract that piece of it and send it to you, along with the kindness practice that we're about to do. And so that you can decide, yeah, you know, if it's something you want to, if it's something you want to experience again. Um, um, it's certainly an interesting experience that I can't see any of you. And anyway, I'll maybe chat to Sue about that. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention, this is our first session, but you know, there might be, you might want to kind of, you know, loosen your shoulders or just stretch for a moment or two. Sometimes it's helpful to do that. So I will remind you to do that at certain times in future. So I'm conscious that each of us have made a commitment for 8:30, and I'm wanting to do a kindness practice. So is there something else, Sue, that I need to look at in terms of questions or comments?
No, you are all caught up. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one. I do have a question. What do we do with what comes up other than observe, like frustration or boredom, so that you don't become discouraged?
Well, okay, I mean that's such an that's a fabulous question. That's a great question. I mean, I don't know what do you want to do, right? You observe something, and I guess with boredom, you have to decide. Well, you know, maybe you are bored. You know what? That's okay. You know, I'm not. You know, then we get into judging, don't we? We then we say, oh well, you know, maybe that's not okay, or I shouldn't be bored. Well, I don't know. Maybe you are bored. I think so. So you look at, is that something you want to take a look at, or is that's how you're feeling right now? I mean, one of the work of mindfulness, right, which has come really out of Buddhist principles, Buddhist psychology, is that things are always shifting. And you know, when you have a mindfulness practice, you really notice that. So maybe there was a period where you felt bored, and maybe in a little while you might not be bored. So yeah, but you know, so maybe it's to uh, you know, be aware. Oh, I get discouraged because I was bored. Okay, well, be aware. I get discouraged. Hopefully, we're giving you. I'm giving you some comments to uh, encourage you to explore that a little bit. Um, it's early days. I'm saying we do get bored. That's a fact of life. You're a human being, and maybe it is to look at. You've taken the courage to acknowledge it, and I think that's great, actually. So maybe I think to accept that you're a bit bored, and and to look at the attitude of being discouraged, and to say it's early days. Try not to judge and try not to strive. I hope that meets. Hope that's something to consider. Yeah, yeah. We're going to meet for another 3 Wednesdays. Um, I'm going to give you a couple of things to suggest that you do in between. And I think if you're interested in practicing, that's great. And if you know what, if you don't want to practice, but you want to show up every Wednesday night, I think that's great as well. And it's to be easy with it all. And welcome everything. You know, I know that sounds perhaps, you know, an odd thing to say, but that's our teacher in life is because when you push something away or when you judge it or when you think, oh, you know, that's not okay, you know what, it becomes much harder to work with. So when I make the statement and when others say, well, welcome it, you know, like what's that about in your life? It's really to say it's okay. Maybe that's something to check out in myself. Do I get easily put off or, you know, You know, these are the habits and patterns, right, that come up in our lives that we think, okay, maybe I need to look at that. Or, um, so. So I'm going to do a kindness practice, and so that we can finish at 8:30, because I want to respect. I mean, there's a couple of you that obviously are working, and just want to respect that in everyone, really. You know, so thanks so much for being here, and okay, so. So again, what's the intention of a kindness practice? So we know that through research, we know that when people befriend themselves, you know, like we're always our tendency is to help others, be there for them. They need something, soothe them, comfort, support. So it's really a learning to do a bit of that for ourselves. And we know that our central nervous system, we know that we can be calmer if, in fact, we learn to be kinder and more patient, and offer ourselves more self compassion. But we know that. And I'm going to chat about that, by the way. We talk a little bit about the central nervous system, because that's hugely significant in right now with the pandemic. How do we stay calmer and steadier? And so one way is to offer yourself a kindness practice. So I would bring yourselves, again, if you've got the facility to lie down, you might want to do that. You might want to just remain sitting on a cushion, whatever will work for you. Bringing awareness to this moment. Awareness of how you are. Following the breath as it's coming into the body, as it's going out of the body. We've covered a lot of things tonight, and we have used a platform that certainly I'm not familiar with. So again, just allowing for new learning, new growth, acknowledging that we've taken time out, perhaps with very many demands on each of you, and that you've taken time out to nurture and to be open to new learning, new possibilities. That's a very exciting aspect, I think, of learning about oneself. So just expanding our awareness to again, go to the breath. This trusted friend that we have in the breath. And just noticing as we follow the breath, as it's coming in to the body, as it's going out. If you can always breathe at the abdomen level, that's always attractive, because it will naturally deepen the breath. But if you can't, that's not to become too concerned about that. The important thing is having a relationship with the breath. We're distracted, we wander off into that to-do list or things that have come up. If we wander off, again, it's really normalizing that. You know, we're human. We are human beings. So we wander off, we drift off into all sorts of stuff. So we acknowledge that. And then this practice of gently returning to the breath, wherever it is connecting to your own rhythm. Sometimes it's helpful if you're struggling, by the way, to perhaps even count, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. That perhaps just sustains just a little bit more of a focus. So in a loving kindness practice, you know, the idea is to befriend ourselves. And the invitation is to think of someone in your life that you're very close to. You may love, it might be a partner, a family member, might be a dear, dear friend, but someone who you certainly feel very close to and that you care a great deal about. And so through using the breath and conveying to this person, from you to this person, may you be safe. May you be safe. And may you be healthy. May you be healthy. Really, really, the breath conveying. Perhaps you see this person in your mind's eye. May you be safe. May you be healthy. And may you be calm in the midst of struggle. May you be calm in the midst of struggle. May you be full of well-being. So now we're going to expand and we are going to put ourselves in this frame. And again, so we're opening our heart, even if it's a little bit. Sometimes we're quite unfamiliar with giving ourselves kind, gentle messages. So, you know, just being easy with yourself. You know, if this doesn't make sense to you, then that's okay too. But if you can, open a tiny bit of your heart and saying to yourself, may I be safe. May I be safe. And may I be healthy. May I be healthy. May I be calm in the midst of struggle. May I be calm in the midst of struggle. And may I be full of well-being. So breathing in and breathing out with an open heart. Conveying these messages to you. So I'm now going to widen and I'm going to include all of us in the group, all of us that have participated tonight. May you all be safe. May you all be healthy. May you all be calm in the midst of struggle. And may you all be full of well-being. So offering to yourself a sense of gratitude. A sense of living with ease. Using the breath as a way of anchoring these messages into your very being. So there are two things that I'm going to suggest if you're interested. One will be to listen and practice through those two, awareness of breathing. They were probably both maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes. And the kindness practice. That would be my suggestion, and that you would try to do one of them once a day. It would be helpful. A tip would be that you try to find the same time in a day, because any new habit, any new way of developing a routine, that would be a tip to try to do that. And you're experimenting. This is purely experimentation, and to enjoy it. The other, and this is again an informal practice, it would be to take something that you do every day. So common ones are brushing your teeth or having a shower, something you do daily, and to try to do it mindfully. So engaging your senses, so if it's a shower, being aware of the going into the shower, the temperature of the water, maybe you're washing your hair, the scent, what it's like on your skin, maybe you're using a face cloth, the texture, the changing temperature, maybe there's a little bit of a breeze, if the window's open, maybe not. So that would be mindful. That would be you being mindful. That would be a fun thing to do. Or you could do eating. You could eat your part of a breakfast and engage the senses. What's it like to smell? What's it like to taste? So that you're loosening, you're unhooking from that automatic pilot thing. And I thank you for being here. I thank you. It's wonderful simply to be here. That's great. So I am formally finished, and I believe it's 8:31, and I want to value and respect that. And if you jot down any questions, comments, come with them next time.
Thank you so much, Joan.